There were a great majority of the guys who were what you'd just call good soldiers. They were the guys you could depend on all the time. They were always there.
And these kids were from farms. They weren't paratrooping guys, you know. They were trained to do this. And they just wanted to be the best. They wanted to look the best. They wanted to do their job the best.
The idea that it's never been done before, and we're going to drop you out of a plane at 1,000 feet, which means if anything goes wrong, you die.
Once you've assessed the situation and you realize how dangerous it is, and then you go and do something, perhaps that's the definition of true courage.
These guys were everything to each other. In a way, I think they were more than family.
It is a story of courage and comradeship, endurance and sacrifice. Executive producers Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg, and HBO recreate the true story of Easy Company, an elite World War II parachute infantry regiment, in the epic miniseries Band of Brothers, based on the best-selling book by Stephen Ambrose.
It followed one group of guys from literally them signing up for training to the end of the European War. Jumped into Normandy on D-Day and fought in Holland for Market Garden, and then we're in the Battle of the Bulge. Very well chronicled all the way through.
The massive production spanned 3 years and cost over $120 million, primarily shooting on an 1,100-acre backlot in Hatfield, England. A 12-acre village set was continually modified to portray 11 different European locations.
It's about 5 times bigger than what we had on Saving Private Ryan. We're in Aldbourne and Up Pottery in England. We're in France, Normandy, Holland. we're in Bastogne. We're all over the place here.
The costume department provided 2,000 German and American uniforms, including 500 pairs of Corcoran jump boots. 1,200 civilian costumes were authentic vintage clothing.
On the whole project, every department has the best people you can find.
It's a first-rate production facility for recreating the past, as well as sort of the next generation of everything, the next generation of special effects, the next generation of computer-generated effects. So in some ways it's intimidating, but in other ways it's just incredibly fun.
More than 10,000 extras worked on the miniseries, which featured 500 speaking roles.
I can tell you that everybody in this pretty much had the role as soon as they walked through the door and opened their mouths.
We had this fabulous casting session where we brought in all the guys that we said, they're Easy Company. Let's see how they relate to each other in different roles. And Steven operated the camera, and Tom kind of like staged the action, and we would mix and match different roles.
Steven was down with his video camera, and he was filming, and he asked us, me and this other guy, he said, when you say that line, can you just move this way a little bit? And we said, yeah, sure. And we got done, and boom, the scene started, and boom, before you knew it was over, and thank you, guys. And we were being shuffled out, and the guy said to me, he tapped me on the shoulder, he said, did I just get directed by Steven Spielberg? I said, yeah, I think you did.
Senior military advisor Captain Dale Dye served on the production as a watchdog for military accuracy and trained the cast in a rigorous 10-day actor boot camp.
The idea was that when they began to portray something, when the director said, you're exhausted, or the director said, you're frightened, they would have something that could reach back and touch, some sort of understanding of what exhaustion means to a soldier, what fear means to a soldier. I wanted them to know that sort of thing, and there's just no way to do it without putting them in that position.
You're in barracks with a bunch of guys you've never met, and the barracks smell like feet. I remember laying in bed that night going, I'm never gonna make this. I'm never gonna make this 10 days.
Boot camp's exhaustive 18-hour days were filled with physical training and military drills and maneuvers.
Hold your fire! Right there! I want concentrated burst of machine gun fire. Do not waste your ammo!
Go, runner, go!
I want him on a 180. Get him around the side as well. Okay, we have somebody in here on the left-hand side. See who he is. He's in a black coat. Got him? Listen, you're coming with me. Guns, go!
Private, get a weapon on this guy.
Captain Dye can tear you down, make you realize what you need to do, and then bring you right back up within a sentence. now just shut up. And then you go into your thing, and he goes, Sergeant Laws, earn them stripes.
1940-style jump training included jumping from a 40-foot-high plane fuselage mock-up.
So we climb up this tower, and some little woman walks up to me and puts this little leather strap around my waist, and it's like these two little hooks. She's like, okay, you're safetied in. What do you mean I'm safetied in? I'm not safetied in. And then she's like, go, I'm not safety. Jump off, I'm like, 1,002, bam! What the hell is that?
The worst night was sleeping outside in these sleeping bags that if you got in them, it was colder than being outside.
I saw guys taking off their socks to give other people to stay warm, and you would take your jacket off to give to someone else.
You hit walls in boot camp. You hit these personal, mental, physical walls that you have to go over, basically. There were guys the first night at boot camp that cried themselves to sleep, that I was there for, and they were there for me.
I came out of the whole boot camp experience doing anything for these guys.
We became soldiers. I mean, I know when I went into boot camp, I thought I was ready for it, and when I left, I felt like a different person.
You felt like you did something that no one could take away from you, the same way that no one could take away what Easy Company has done.
To be a paratrooper in World War II, it was experimental, it was elite, it was cutting edge, it was the first time it was being done.
Their job was unique in that they were dropped out of planes. They had to be, in essence, one-man armies. They had to bring everything with them.
Just the thought of when you're dropped in the middle of enemy territory, surrounded on all four sides, and that knowing that there's going to be no help, it's just you.
There's a grit and a resolve that they had to just never quit. They had it beat right into them at boot camp, and they wouldn't quit then, and it prepared them for what they faced, and they didn't quit under the most dire conditions that really any soldiers probably could have faced.
There was a scene where we're at a crossroad and we surprised a bunch of Germans in an apple orchard, and there's just about 100 Germans running away, right? And then they start turning and firing at us, and we're popping off clips, having to reload. It's a long shot. A whole nother German platoon comes storming down this hill and starts attacking. All of a sudden this riverbed just explodes. Boom, 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 all the way down, the ground shaking. Well, I remember when I was reloading, that's when you're at your most vulnerable because you can't defend yourself with your weapon, and you're reloading, and I was jamming my clip in, and I was having trouble because my hands were shaking. And I was thinking, I'm gonna get shot in the head right now while I'm not looking. I'm just gonna get shot and everything's gonna turn to black. And then you come out of it and you go, that's what it's like.
When you go through years of war with guys next to you, you're dependent on this person. Their small mistake or their one heroic event can save your life or destroy your life.
You have to bond. If you're not one unit, you're not going to necessarily survive. You know?
One of the production's most ambitious recreations occurred in the first week of shooting.
I think from a physical production standpoint, the most challenging scene was taking off for D-Day. We had hundreds and hundreds of extras, each of whom had to be accurately equipped and uniformed and webbed and geared up.
As a paratrooper, everything you survive on, you have to carry in. You're being dropped behind enemy lines. The amount of equipment that they're carrying, getting on those planes with 100 pounds of excess equipment, just to move in these. They had to be pushed and shoved onto these planes. They could not move in them.
It was a tremendous feat of coordination. We had 4 C-47 aircraft from the period that actually could work. We wound up having, I think, 7 cameras shooting the night that we had the planes take off, all in different positions. And cameras had assignments that when the planes start taxiing, you're here, and as soon as the taxi's past you, you got to run over here so you can get the takeoff. And then when it takes off, you get this aerial shot, and then the planes will come back over the field so you can get a flyby. And everybody had multiple assignments. And it was pretty thrilling to watch those old planes roaring around. It was pretty great.
You kind of knew that some of you wouldn't be coming back. You kind of knew some of you were going to make it. I mean, I can only guess, to how those guys must have felt.
To get to the point that you can understand, okay, this is the routine. I jump out of a moving plane, and I fall to the earth, and hopefully a chute opens, and then The easy part is to grab my weapon and go kill people. It's a totally different world.
They flew pretty much into mayhem. They lost at least 1,000 paratroopers before they hit the ground. Planes shot down or being shot just in their parachutes.
They were dropping guys at 500 feet. I mean, the ground is very close at 500 feet.
The pilots didn't really know what to expect or weren't trained for that amount of anti-aircraft fire and flew too low, flew too fast. Some of them flew too high and they got scattered, all just to hell and gone, basically.
Hey, camera. Okay.
The special effects department constructed what we call a gimbal. It's a very large hydraulic-driven apparatus that sits underneath the plane, and they can control every possible axis of movement in varying degrees of intensity. And that thing is really rocking and rolling as if you were in a real plane bouncing about. A bunch of us went on board, and we said, show us how it works, and he very gently did the controls. And fool that I am, I said to him jokingly, come on, show me what you got. It was unbelievable. It was an e-ticket ride.
My episode, episode 2, starts with the aircraft, the C-47s, full of paratroopers. It starts with the guys jumping out of the aircraft. We've decided that we would predominantly keep with Winters, who's one of our main characters in the episode.
8 seconds. That's all it took. Plane to the ground. I'm going to do it in about 4. Very dangerous, highly skilled stunt I'm about to undertake.
What we thought we would do would be to follow him down to the ground in one go. So from the time he jumps out of the aircraft to the time he hits the ground is one shot. And we're doing that by hanging the actor against blue, with a lot of air being blown him on a hip rig, so we can swivel and pivot him in lots of directions. Then we have a camera crane which is moving, represents really a floating camera. When we make him fall, he's not falling at all. The aircraft is moving away, so it looks like he's falling. But that's put on in a process, an optical process afterwards. So if you shoot someone against a blue screen, the computer can remove the blue and put whatever background you want in. In this case, it would be aircraft and sky and other paratroopers. So we have our actor falling. We have a camera crane that moves into him, goes up to his face, looks down to the ground as he looks to the ground, looks back up to him again, all in one shot.
Let's go! Very good, excellent cut.
The look and feel of Band of Brothers was enhanced during post-production at Cinesite London, using a revolutionary all-digital film finishing process.
The technologies that we pioneered to get HBO on board were really about electronic color timing. It was about having the ability to electronically control all of the aspects of hue and color and be able to match them shot for shot.
Before we started shooting, there was a set of instructions from Tom and Stephen about what they wanted and what they didn't want and what the look of things had to be. It's desaturated, there's not much colour in it. It's as though you were actually back in the 1940s with a 1940s camera actually shooting stuff for real. And when we do post-production, when we do digital effects, we keep a consistent theme throughout the whole show, basically.
Cinesite also provided many of the 700 visual effect shots in the miniseries that recreate Easy Company's experiences.
We're dropping deep into occupied Holland. Our job is going to be to liberate Eindhoven.
What we're doing here is recreating Operation Market Garden, which is the drop in Holland of thousands and thousands of troops.
This is the first shot for the parachute sequence. We're not looking at the high-resolution parachute and soldiers, we're looking at very low-res models, so we can very quickly and easily lay out the look of the shot and the speeds and the animation and the timing. This is an individual soldier with parachute, and there's animation on the actual soldier as he comes down, just to give life to it. Then from this, we can render high-resolution models.
In this case, we're taking Mike's CG, and I'll then layer those CG elements over the live-action background, which in this case is this shot here. And what we needed to do here is separate somehow the background from the foreground. So we create a mat which would look something like this. And basically what happens here is anything in the black area will allow the parachutes to be visible. But as soon as they hit this white area here, they'll disappear from view. And it'll give the impression of them falling behind the foreground elements. So all those very tiny details need to be achieved so that you believe that it really is happening.
Recreating Easy Company's battles sometimes required up to 14,000 rounds of ammunition a day, utilizing about 700 authentic World War II weapons and 400 rubber prop guns.
Over here on the right we have the M1 Garand rifles, and on the opposite side we have the Germans, and they're with the K98 rifles. This is a paratrooper version of the M1 carbine. That means it's got a folding stock, which again makes it easier to jump with. This is one of our MG42s. That's 88 flak round high explosives. This is what will have been fired by the planes when they went in on D-Day. This is one of the rubber pistols that we'll be using on the film. Wherever possible, we'll use a rubber gun. When it's in its holster, it should look like the real thing. This is one of our rubber 5.0s that we've just finished painting up. As you can see, we've just highlighted the rubber here to make it look a little bit like metal.
Whoa! Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? Wow. I thought for sure that thing was made out of total metal. That's incredible.
Now this is one of the tanks from Private Ryan. This is a Tiger tank, and we actually built this on the chassis of a T-34. We've actually put wheel spats and hubcaps and things on to bring it back to looking more authentic like a Tiger tank. All this sheeting is covered in this Zemerite finish, which the Germans use like a paste, which actually stopped magnetic mines and that being put on the side. The turret works, and we will be having the gun firing with the special effects with the full ricochet. These are some British Army armoured personnel carriers, which have the smaller wheels, which work very good for the Panzer Kampfwagen 3. The big problem with these is that, of course, we have to extend the length with one more wheel. As you can see, we've got 6 wheels there and only 5 here. The engine on these comes right at the front, and obviously it's in the wrong position. We will actually be cutting it off right through there and moving the engine further back. We are building altogether 6 tanks and renting in 4.
The scene we've just finished shooting is the major assault on the American line in the forest in the Ardennes. The battle was planned by Captain Dale Dye, and we only shot it once.
This will be a close-in, hold-a-hole fight between Easy in these holes here and that infantry.
It's a difficult scene because we had 5 cameras running on it, and because we got explosions, to make sure everyone, not only the stuntmen, the extras, the drivers of the vehicles, know exactly where they are, when they're going to go off, where their vehicle should be when it goes off.
Action! Here they come!
This is a big shot. I think it's probably one of the biggest in the film so far.
By the time the production completed shooting its 3rd episode, the special effects department had already used more pyrotechnics than Saving Private Ryan.
What we've developed here is an air hit. There's a system in here that activates this valve here that allows the blood and the air is pressurized in here to come straight out, and it blasts through the little cloth plug that we put on here and then pushes the blood straight out at high velocity. The great thing with this is, like I say, the actor can wear this, run around, do whatever he likes, and he actually fires it himself from a button that we'd conceal up his armour. You just press this button and off we go.
Action!
We're using these things here, as you can see, air mortars. We bury these in the ground and we use compressed air in the yellow tank there. The air comes through the tank and out through this cone. The cone we fill with debris. We can put people right on top of them and actually have them look as if they're blown up. And there's no harm, no danger to them whatsoever. And it's an 88mm shell or a hand grenade, or whatever we really want it to be.
In addition to executive producing Band of Brothers with Steven Spielberg, World War II buff Tom Hanks also directs Part 5.
You know, I go home and I talk to my parents, you know, I'm like, yeah, I'll do work Tom Hanks, you know, he's giving direction or whatever, and they're like, son, that's great. How was your work today, Mom? Who cares? You know, Tom Hanks is telling you to knock it off. That's awesome.
Cut. Sweet. Okay, cut it. Thing of beauty.
He knows all the characters. He knows who we should care about and who we want to see and who's got something going on, you know, 4 episodes later.
What he absolutely is sure of is how he wants to tell the story.
We're going to start with just your firing on the Germans that you see to begin with. But then on a cue that we'll decide, you're going to see those 100 other guys start coming over the dike. Well, episode 5 lands squarely in the middle of our 10-part series. Now we're dealing with a lot of combat veterans for whom all they want to do is survive and get home. The only real haven they have is the company itself and the friendships that they've made and the bond that they have with these guys, because the rest of the world really is not a pleasant place and has no sign of abating.
Parts 6 and 7 of Band of Brothers recreate a time when Easy Company was pushed beyond human limits.
It is the moment that they became a Band of Brothers, because what they went through, what they experienced, they could not relate to anybody who wasn't there.
The conditions in Bastogne were horrendous.
Middle of winter, freezing cold, no long johns. Most of them just had a pair of socks and no mittens. About 200 yards away, there are enemy fire coming right at you. And you have to basically stay your position for the next month and try not to get killed and try to take more ground. And most of the guys didn't make it.
You know, and these guys were losing limbs. These guys were dying for their best friends.
Now you've got no food, and you're eating snow, and you're kind of hallucinating, and everything's falling off because of frostbite. That doesn't even come close to what it really was.
The art department constructed the Beaujacq forest in a huge airplane hangar using hundreds of real trees and 250 trees created by the special effects department.
We created our own trees, which are a mixture of fiberglass, as is this one, hemp and latex to give a shattered tree look, and foam trees, hard foam trees with a cardboard tubed core that keeps the weight down. The Germans, for that section of the war, set their timers on their mortar rounds so they would explode in the tree tops. So the soldiers not only got the shrapnel from the mortar rounds, but they got shrapnel from trees being hit. When we've got to do a tree being hit by a mortar round, as this one has been, supposedly, we've got the tree section, and then there's a hole in the middle here, you can see, that we put our now full-size foam section of the tree. And we put those onto the stump and we can blow the whole tree, do a big hit in the bottom and see the tree actually fall over. Then we can have people as close as 4 or 5 feet. Looks like the real tree's taken a major hit from around, and it's safe.
It took 4 weeks to dress the Bastogne sets with man-made snow.
What we're using mainly is a cellulose-based snow, so it's kind of really pure paper that's treated in different ways. But we mix that with polymers and also with certain plastics, so we can actually have like slush. We're using more of that outside on the sort of bombed out towns. The forest set is kind of a composite of 3 different parts. And for that set, we're actually using £1/3 pounds of paper. It's the biggest amount ever used on one set for anything. You know, it should be in the Guinness Book of Records. Most of the machines we're using are huge things, which you can see out in the woods. And this is a lovely little device. The film Ghostbusters, we just kind of fell in love with the look and felt that snow wasn't glamorous enough. So we made these devices. And they're really great, and you can literally just switch them on and get snow. You can turn the snowflakes so they're bigger or smaller, so you can have any type of snow you want from it. You can make them dissolve faster or slower. It's a little backpack that just contains almost like a children's bubble bath solution. And then everything's kind of rigged just to make this thing give realistic looking snowflakes.
In part 9 of the miniseries, the production recreates the reason for the incredible sacrifices Easy Company made fighting World War II.
The particular episode that I'm directing deals with the company liberating a concentration camp. That has a lot of personal meaning to me. I had family who died in camps and also family who escaped Nazi Germany. I'd say the most challenging scene is the scenes here at Landsberg camp, the concentration camp. Really trying to capture what it must have been like to find a concentration camp. Most of these guys didn't even know they existed. They'd heard rumors, but to see it in the flesh and to see so much dead flesh, I think was really traumatic for a lot of soldiers. And the first time you come up here and there's nobody here, it almost seems like a monument to people who died in camps like this rather than a movie set. I have a lot of personal emotion tied up in this episode, so it's very satisfying to be able to bring it to life.
The men in Easy Company were unquestionably heroes because of their strength in adversity, their ability to come through what must have been Babylon to them.
They did a job that frightened them, that was bigger than them, that was overwhelming, and they did it courageously, and they did their job, and they took care of each other under extraordinary circumstances.
And it is nobody like them, or ever will be like them. Elite.
The real Easy Company guys, the veterans, they will never call themselves heroes. But now that we have the uniform on and we're getting to play them and people are calling us Easy Company, we can say it for them. They are heroes.
These guys lived hell for years for the betterment of the world. Doing a movie like this, hopefully, is a small shred of a sliver of a thank you. And a little piece of information that we can pass on to other people to go, don't forget. Don't forget. It was really hard. And these guys did it, so you don't have to.
It's an amazing program. I think this is really going to be special TV. And again, all of us will watch this next year and be like, wow, I miss those guys. I can't believe I was part of that. Because we'll never be part of something like this ever again. It's pretty amazing.